heard of the Electoral College during presidential election years. But what exactly is the Electoral College? Simply said, it is a group of people appointed by each state who formally elect the President and Vice President of the United States. To understand how this process began and how it continues today, we can look at the Constitution of the United States. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution. It specifies how many electors each state is entitled to have. Since 1964, there have been 538 electors in each presidential election. How did they decide on the number 538? Well, the number of electors is equal to the total voting membership of the United States Congress. 435 representatives plus 100 senators and 3 electors from the District of Columbia. Essentially, the Democratic candidate and Republican candidate are each trying to add up the electors in every state so that they surpass 270 electoral votes, or just over half of 538 votes, and win the presidency. So how do states even get electoral votes? Each state receives a particular number of electors based on population size. The census is conducted every 10 years, so every time the census happens, states might gain or lose a few electoral votes. Let's say you're a voter in California, a state with 55 electoral votes. If your candidate wins in California, they get all 55 of the state's electoral votes. If your candidate loses, they get none. This is why many presidential candidates want to win states like Texas, Florida, and New York. If you currently add up the electoral votes of those 3 states, you would have 96 electoral votes. Even if a candidate won North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and West Virginia, they would only gain 31 electoral votes total from those 8 states. Here's where it can get a little tricky. On a rare occasion, like in the year 2000, someone can win the popular vote but fail to gain 270 electoral votes. This means that the winner may have won and collected their electoral votes by small margins, winning just enough states with just enough electoral votes, but the losing candidate may have captured large voter margins in the remaining states. If this is the case, the very large margins secured by the losing candidate in the other states would add up to over 50% of the ballots cast nationally. Therefore, the losing candidate may have gained more than 50% of the ballots cast by voters, but failed to gain 270 of the electoral votes. Some critics of the Electoral College argue the system gives an unfair advantage to states with large numbers of electoral votes. Think of it this way. It is possible for a candidate to not get a single person's vote, not one vote, in 39 states or the District of Columbia, yet be elected president by winning the popular vote in just 11 of these 12 states: California, New York, Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, New Jersey, North Carolina, Georgia, or Virginia. This is why both parties pay attention to these states. However, others argue that the Electoral College protects small states such as Rhode Island, Vermont, and New Hampshire, and even geographically large states with small population, like Alaska, Wyoming, and Dakota. That's because a candidate can't completely ignore small states, because in a close election, every electoral vote counts. There are certain states that have a long history of voting for a particular party. These are known as safe states. For the past 4 election cycles, in 1996, 2000, 2004, and 2008, Democrats could count on states like Oregon, Maryland, Michigan, and Massachusetts, whereas the Republicans could count on states like Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, and Idaho. States that are teetering between parties are called swing states. In the past 4 election cycles, Ohio and Florida have been swing states, twice providing electoral votes for a Democratic candidate and twice providing electoral votes for a Republican candidate. Think about it. Do you live in a safe state? If so, is it a Democratic or Republican safe state? Do you live in a swing state? Are your neighboring states swing or safe? Is the population in your state increasing or decreasing? And do not forget, when you're watching the electoral returns on election night every 4 years, and the big map of the United States is on the screen, know that the magic number is 270 and start adding.
Okay, guys. So now we're going to talk about the Electoral College a little bit. And let's start by going over what the three branches of government are. Okay? So raise your hand and tell me if you know one of the three branches of government. Joseph. Legislative. Who else? Someone other than Joseph. What's another one? Christian. Congress. Congress is in the legislative branch. All right. What's another one? That's good. You knew that though. So we're going to put Congress here. All right. That was a good answer. Okay, Joseph. Judicial. One more. Okay, well, what's probably in judicial? What does that sound like, Chelsea? What does that sound like, Jada? Judge. It sounds like a judge. So if we have our judge, we got Congress, what's missing? What's missing, Naomi? The president. So the president. Does anyone know the name of that branch of government? All right. Executive. All right. So it's important to know that when we're talking about the Electoral College. So we know the president. Who was running? Who was running? Chelsea. So Trump versus Biden. Garen, what political party was Trump in? Republican. Emily, what about Biden? Democrat. Yep. So, we have the executive branch. There's more in the executive branch, but right now we're going to talk about just the president, because we're talking about the Electoral College and how we get to the president. Okay, we have two parties, Trump versus Biden. Now, Congress, this is really important when we're talking about the Electoral College. Congress is made up of two chambers. Does anyone know what one is? One of them was said, actually, I think they were both said in that video, actually. Okay, so we have no one. So we have the Senate and what? Still nothing? All right, the House of Representatives. House of Representatives and the Senate. How many senators are there? Does anyone remember from that video? How many senators? Jaden?
I think it's 3.
No, not 3. How many senators are there total? Christian? Not 11. 100. 100. Now, every state gets the exact same amount of senators. How many states are there? 50, which means every state gets how many senators? So 2 per state. It is equal. Every single state gets 2 senators. Alaska gets 2 senators. Wyoming gets 2 senators. California gets 2 senators. Florida gets 2 senators. It doesn't matter how big the state is, they get 2 senators. It's equal. Now, the House of Representatives. How many people are in the House of Representatives? Joseph. 400 and not 20. You're close. Naomi. 35. It is 435. So we have 100 senators, 435 representatives in the House. Now, is this equal? Every state gets the exact same amount of representatives in the House. Garen? No? Yes? No, you're right, no. But it's not equal. How would they possibly determine that? How? B-Rad, how would they determine that? If it's not, the Senate everyone gets 2. So how do they determine the House?
Garrett's checking out.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, buddy. How would they determine, and when you close that door when you go out? Thank you, Gary. How would they determine it? The Senate, everyone gets 2. The House, how much land the state has? So Texas is a really big state, right? It's huge, all right? That's beautiful, I know, Texas. It's huge. Does that mean Texas has a lot of, no? So what is it? All right, now I see some hands. What is it? Emily. Population. How many people live in the state? So that is divided by population. What determines that? There's something that happens every 10 years. Every 10 years. See 2 hands. What happens? I'd like someone other than Emily and Joseph. Every 10 years. Something happens. Okay, Joseph. How do they determine how many people live in a state, Emily? The census. Every 10 years, a census is taken. It determines the amount of people that live in a state, and that's how the House of Representatives is determined. Okay? So states like California and stuff like that, they would have a lot of representatives. Okay? Smaller states do not. So this is divided by population. Now the judicial branch, we know that's the Supreme Court. We're not going to talk about it right now, but it is important to know that's there. All right, so now what we're really focused on, the Electoral College, which the Electoral College is going to lead us to our executive branch, which is the president, and the legislative branch determines a lot of the Electoral College. Did anyone catch that number of Electoral College? What was that number? How many people are in the Electoral College, Jaden? Not 270, but 270 is a very important number. I'm glad you picked up on that. Christian. 548, not exactly. Close. Close. Who wants to help them, Chelsea? Not 548. We have to either add 10 or subtract 10. So we have 548. So do you think it's 558 or 538? 538. You're exactly right. So 538. Now watch this. 100. So we have 100 senators. Plus 435. What is that? 535. 535, 538. How many are we missing?
3.
Where are those 3? Joseph. In the District of Columbia, Washington D.C., the District of Columbia, they get 3. So that plus 3 from D.C. that leads us to our magic number of 538. So that's why big states, big population states, get more electoral college votes because they have more people in the House of Representatives. Okay? That's where we get our 538. 538. Now, this is what determines the president, guys. Electoral college. Let me walk you through that. I know I've explained it a little bit. So let's say we have Trump versus Biden, and someone say a state, just a random state. Michigan. So we have Michigan. Now, let's say this is not what happened in the election, okay? But let's say Trump has 51% of the vote. Biden has 49%. It's not, they wouldn't be that high, it doesn't matter. 51, 49, that's what it is, okay? Who won? Who won? Bradley. Trump. Trump wins this. In 48 of the states, it is a winner take all. Meaning Trump wins, he gets all the electoral college votes. Okay? So let's say Michigan has, let's make it easy, 10. Michigan has 10. They have more than that, but we're making this easy. Michigan has 10. Trump wins. Trump gets how many electoral college votes? 10. Yeah. Now let's say that Trump destroys Biden. Trump gets 98% of the vote. Biden only gets 2% of the vote in Michigan. He destroyed Biden. Who won? Trump. How many electoral college votes does he get, Naomi? What? Which is how many right now? 10. So does it matter if Trump gets 100% of the vote, 98% of the vote, or 51%? No, it does not matter at all. You just have to win the state. Okay? That's how the electoral college matters. You just have to win the state. Now, there are 2 states that don't do it like that. Okay? Nebraska and Maine. So in Nebraska and Maine, you divide the state. So you have, so here's our state. Let's say that it's worth 6 electoral college votes. The winner of the state, so let's say Trump versus Biden. Biden gets 51% of the vote, okay? Biden would get 2 electoral college votes for winning the state. And then each district is also worth 1. So let's say it goes Biden, Trump, Biden, Trump. Biden would get 4 electoral college votes. Trump would get 2. All right, give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, so that's how only 2 states are done like that. Only 2 states. Let's see who's paying attention. What are the 2 states done like that? Raise your hand, raise your hand. What are the 2 states? What are the 2 states? Christian. Nebraska and Maine, those are the 2 states. So how many states are a winner take all? Raise your hand. Well, how many states are a winner take all? Bradley. Forty-eight states are a winner take all. Okay? So this is different than a popular vote. Does anyone know what a popular vote is? Just a popular vote. All right, Joseph. Very close. So Joe said, who is the most popular? Essentially, yes. A popular vote is who is the most popular. It's whoever has the most votes, meaning, yeah, they're more popular. Okay? So a popular vote is total population. So whoever gets the most total votes in the country. So electoral college breaks up by state. Okay? Each state determines how much electoral college votes they have. Okay? A popular vote would be how many total population. So that's where you would have, that's where those percentages matter. So does it matter if you have 98% or 51% in electoral college in a state? You just want to win. Now when we talk about popular vote, that's where it really matters. So if you win by 98%, and if you get that much more votes, that helps because the popular vote is, so we have the United States, and whoever gets the most, so let's say Trump versus Biden. Again, this is not the election results. Let's say Trump ended up with 10 million votes, and Biden ends up with 15 million votes. Biden wins by popular vote because he has more total votes. With the Electoral College, there are certain cases where a president can actually have less total votes in the United States and still win. Did anyone catch what year that happened in? It was in the video. What? 2000 is an example. All right? There's another example that happened very recently. 2016, all right? Now, it doesn't happen often. It doesn't, I think it's happened 6 times, maybe 5 times in the history of the United States. It does not happen often. Normally, the popular vote and the electoral college are in line, meaning whichever president wins the electoral college also wins the popular vote. That's how it normally happens. Now, it does not always happen like that in the system, okay, with the electoral college. So now, with the electoral college, how many votes does it take to win? Jaden, 270. So when a president gets to 270 electoral college votes, they win. That's all it takes, 270. So however many states it takes. So it said in the video there's like 11 or 12 states that can equal that. Okay? Like they're big population states like Florida, Texas, California, New York, all right? Those big population states, all you would have to do is win those and you can win the electoral college. Okay? Now, a lot of those states are a little bit different. Like California tends to lean a little bit more towards Democratic. Texas, for the most part, tends to lean more Republican, okay? So that's this electoral college. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm not saying this is right, but this is what happens in the United States. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want Jaden, Emily, Chelsea, that's it. I want Jaden, Emily, and Chelsea to research ideas that opposes the electoral college. All right, I'm going to give you about 5 or 10 minutes. So you're going to look up things that is against this, meaning that you would want it to be a popular vote. So you're going to look up things, be like, reasons why the electoral college shouldn't be a thing. Okay? Look those things up, and you're going to present that argument against the electoral college. It doesn't matter if you believe it. I don't care what you believe right now. All right? You might think the electoral college is the best thing in the world, but right now you're going to argue against it. Okay? You four, Bradley, Christian, Naomi, and Josette, you are going to look up ideas that are for the electoral college. You might think the electoral college is the dumbest thing in the world and it should be a popular vote. Okay, that's awesome. You should have opinions. Strong opinions are awesome too. But for this right now, that's what you are in favor of the electoral college. You have 5 or 10 minutes, okay? Go ahead and look up. I'll probably make some bullet points. That way when I'm like, okay, what did you all get? You have bullet points. What did you all get?
Here is the receipt, please, officer, right?